Good evening, people. This is Kivumbi 2017. So, like I mentioned, we have a whole team on the ground following up on the election preparations for you. We have Murimi Mwangi, who's in Kirinyaga. And, of course, we have Victor Gale, who's in Baringo. We have Duncan Haimba, who's keeping an eye on what's happening for us in Busia. We have Mashirima Kapombe, who's in Mombasa. Mary Kilobi and Sharon Momanyi are in Kisumu. So, in other words, by the time you go out to vote tomorrow, we will make sure you have an idea of what's happening in the entire country. And like I mentioned, Murimi Mwangi is in Kirinyaga. And it's interesting that we're having a conversation about security here in studio. Let's just listen into what Murimi Mwangi had to, actually what he figured out in the county of Kirinyaga with respect to security. Then we'll have a conversation in studio.
Number 20, the county of Kirinyaga on the spotlight, a hotly contested election here, right from the gubernatorial seat up to, of course, the MCA seats across various wards here in the county. And of course, it will be a county on the spotlight in the jostle for the presidential votes. But besides that, we would want to understand from the security department about how prepared they are for the big day tomorrow. And I'm here with the county police commander, Mr. David Kirui. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. What preparations have you put in place in terms of security to ensure that everything runs smoothly come tomorrow?
What I can say is that Kirinyaga County, like you said, is county number 20, which has got 5 sub-counties. So far, according to the security arrangements, we started preparation sometimes last week, arranging for the security areas to make sure that all the polling stations, which are about 657, are covered by our security personnel. And like you are seeing now, we have already deployed the officers, and they are now proceeding to their polling stations. And on the issue of the hotspot areas, we have put our officers on standby. Though we have not gotten any hotspot areas, but we have officers on standby in the case of any eventuality.
How many police officers will you be deploying for the purpose of tomorrow?
What I can say is just we are deploying enough officers for the whole exercise. Yeah.
You say 2 police officers per station?
2 police officers per every polling station. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. That is the county police commander for Kirinyaga, Mr. David Kirui, just giving us details of the preparations in terms of security to handle the big day tomorrow for the county number 20, the county of Kirinyaga. Back to you.
Murimi Mwangi and Kirinyaga, you know, I was having a conversation with my panelists here in studio, and they were looking at the body language of those guys, and guys are saying, no, how do you even start helping these guys and telling them this is what you want to do? So in studio, you have Daisy Amdanyi, National Coordinator, Steering Women Committee. Next to her, we have Ambassador Jack Tuma, former ACK Commissioner, and Dr. Alex Owiti, Director, East African Institute, Aga Khan University. Thank you for staying with me. Ambassador, let's look at the body language. You're the one who's saying maybe they need to work with the Kenyan citizens.
If I were the minister in charge of security, I would send a word tomorrow morning to all my security agencies to put on a human face. Because that is actually intimidating. Body language.
Yeah.
To that old mama who is going to vote. You know, she gets there, he's looking like he's looking. We're putting on a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets just frightened. And we're in elections. I think we should relax our elections and go for elections as one of those things. After all, we've been voting every after 5 years, and it has been going on and on and on. For a politician to turn elections into what we're seeing now, I think it's very unfortunate. Secondly, who decided to divide Kenya into hotspots Kenya and relaxed Kenya? You know, that also sends a wrong message to the countrywide, that some places are not to be hostile, so you have to dump. Matiang'i was saying that it is not true that some places are over-policed. But this is exactly what is happening. Because they are hotspots, they have taken so many policemen there to frighten the people from voting. That's
so by basically classifying some areas as hotspots, you already have a problem.
You have a problem. You have assumed there's a problem, even if, I don't know.
Alex?
But, you know, Linda, what I'm thinking is that a day like tomorrow is supposed to be a celebration of our democracy. It should be a peaceful day when we all feel that it's all coming to a culmination. When the people now exercise their will and elect their representatives and show them who the bosses are. But it turns out that this is a day when we expect all kinds of things, trouble, mayhem. And we deploy such overwhelming amounts of security apparatus to an election. And then, as Jack has said, those kinds of phrases are not friendly. They're anything but friendly.
Yeah. You get there and you're like, no, let me just cut my
And I
votes
think
get
police
out.
service is about social support. It's about putting a friendly space. It's about supporting people, helping them to get to the polling station safely if they have any questions, responding to other emergencies that are not necessarily of a violent and security risk nature. So they're supposed to be the friendly face of the process. And I think here is where I think IBC should have given a distinct brief to the police officers, telling them that this is a separate operation. This is not you sitting out on the streets on the beat. These are citizens, peace-loving, who have shown up here to come and express their will and make a wish about how this country should be run. Therefore, you should be different. It is almost the same kind of briefing they should have when we deploy them in schools to help supervise examinations.
Yeah.
This is not warfare, as Jack basically pointed out. Are we at war? Why this level of heightened security?
Okay, so clearly there's an issue, and I remember the head of EU observers actually raised the same thing. She said probably this could lead to intimidation. Let me speak to my colleague Sharon Mumanyi, who's in Kisumu. Sharon, can you hear me? Good evening, good to see you.
Good evening to you, Linda. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear right from the heart of Kisumu, Dala. And here we can see that preparations for the elections in just a couple of hours is going on in earnest. We are at the Aga Khan Hall, one of the polling stations at the Kisumu Central constituency. And what we can see here is that the clerks have already arrived. They are preparing. They will be spending the night here and are waiting for the presiding officer to arrive so that they can continue with the exercise here. Earlier on, we were at the distribution center, and we can see that they started by, taking the voting materials to the farthest of polling stations. So this exercise is continuing, and the IBC officials on the ground assuring us to tell Kenyans that by 6 o'clock in the morning, they should be ready to start voting. And we have been speaking to the residents of Kisumu City. They're all so excited to go to the poll bright and early to exercise their democratic duty. The other pictures on the sidelines that we can speak of from the city is just what we have been seeing in many other parts of the country. Shopping, people just doing a lot of shopping. On one side, some are fearing, you don't know how this is going to turn out. But on the other hand, also saying that they just need to stock up the, stuff to use in their homesteads because, most of these shops will be closed tomorrow and perhaps for as long as the election is not yet conclusive. But what we can expect here, Linda, the gubernatorial race is a tight one to watch. The incumbent Jack Ranguma going against Senator Anyang' Nyong'o, who is vying on an ODM ticket, and Jack Ranguma is vying independently. We remember that particular nomination was one that was marred by a lot of if we can call it hullabaloo, but it's a tight one. We have been speaking to people here. You would imagine that Senator Nyong'o, who is riding on the muscle of the ODM party, that it would be a clean sweep, but it really is not. Very tight race. Jack Ranguma also enjoying, the strength or the powers of incumbency. So it's one to watch, and we shall be up bright and early. There are 7 constituencies in this county. We shall be doing a spot check across as many polling stations as we can, just to report on how this is going on here. But the word on the ground is the Kenyans here really just want to vote and also exercise, a peaceful exercise even as they go about that particular duty. But also to report earlier on, we had seen from this county some disputes where Kenyans, up to more than 200 of them, really saying that they could not find their names on in the voter register, and the IEBC officials are saying that a lot had to be dealt with from the lower levels because they had stormed the IEBC offices here in Kisumu city and referring these voters back to the sub-county offices, and this had not been resolved by this evening, but most of them saying that they will still just go to the polling stations tomorrow and hoping to find their names on the register. Linda, I beg your pardon. So a lot to watch. We shall remember also that this is a very crucial county, a very crucial region. It is an opposition stronghold. In 2013, Raila Odinga garnered 96%, a swooping 96% of the presidential vote. President Uhuru Kenyatta garnering just about 1% of that vote. So we wait to see how the more than 500,000 registered voters here will be speaking tomorrow from all the different kind of votes, right from the presidential one down to the constituency votes.
Sharon,
Linda.
listen, I need you to clarify something for me. There have been rumors going round that protests were banned in Kisumu before, during, and after this particular election. Have you heard anything on the ground?
Sorry, Linda, I beg your pardon.
All right, so there were rumors going round that protests were banned in Kisumu before, during, and after the election. Have you had anything on the ground with respect to that?
Right, Linda, that rumor is something that we actually have been addressing with the IEBC. And the question has been, and there is really a lot of lull in the city right now, and even finding groups of people, you know, how wanting to organize themselves just before for particular messages. And the IEBC says that, you know, they have not quashed or any kind of organized kind of communication. But what they are stern about is security. Up to 3,000 police officers have been dispatched to secure this exercise tomorrow, Linda.
Sharon, maybe we need to clarify that for our viewers maybe a little bit later, because that directive, I believe, came from the county commissioner, not the IEBC. So maybe we can try and just dig in just a little bit and find out what exactly is happening. So allow me to release you on that note. Thank you so much for keeping an eye on what's happening in the lakeside city of Kisumu. Sharon Momanyi, thank you so much. All right, Ambassador.
One thing that Sharon has said that frightens me is missing names from the register.
And yeah.
You know, that can be very, very emotive. If someone turns out tomorrow and finds the name is not on the register, I went through this. We made proper preparation and we kept promising people that everything was perfect. My team left KICC at about midnight after conducting everybody in all our returning officers. In the morning when I wake up, the first thing I found is that Tony Kajoka rang me and said Raila's name was missing from the register.
Yeah,
you can see what it looked like.
Yeah.
That can be very, very dismembering. So let the IEBC be careful on how to handle such a thing.
But Sharon says that they've not even resolved it up to now.
I don't know how well, I heard someone, I think it was one of the officials at the headquarters who said, even if the names are not pinned, because I think they were looking at the pinned names, those names will still be on the country register. I hope so. If not, it is a problem.
Alex?
But you see, Linda, this is, again, one of the questions about preparedness for this process. You know, I think that it shouldn't have taken a court order for IBC to display the names at the polling stations. This is how you avoid some of these problems. Because you can imagine 200 guys around one polling station saying the names are not on the register. It begins to cause anxiety. And the police begin to get restless and might actually overreact. And that's how violence begins. It gets sparked that way. They might be told to wait until the end of the day, and you basically mobilizing anger and you're mobilizing suspicion. And in a closely contested election like this, and I'm sure this is probably not an isolated case for Kisumu alone. It could happen in other areas that might be perceived as part of the process to interfere with the process. Okay. It's not about the reality in this case. It's about perception. All right. And it's about managing expectations and making sure that you're right on message with advanced preemptive responsive action to make sure that these things don't boil over.
Daisy, get the final word before we take a break.
It's not just about perception, it's also about ensuring that everything is in place. And this is why those timelines were very important. And a lot of those timelines were missed because these are things that could have been dealt with if
Way in
IEBC
advance.
stuck to the timelines. Remember, people were saying, publish the register, make it public, let people go and verify. So this is the result of, the lack of preparedness. And that's the thing. One of the things that we still haven't locked down, despite what Ambassador here is saying, that we have been doing this every 5th year. But we keep behaving as though elections are an event and not a process. Because we knew from 2013, immediately we had the elections, that the next election was on the 2nd Tuesday in the 5th year, in August, okay? Therefore, all preparations should have been in place. And this is not tied to the commissioners being in place and stuff like that. So for me, this is the point. The minute people begin to feel that they're being disenfranchised, it then creates a perception that things are afoot. And you see, some of these things may just be genuine errors. And those genuine errors will not be interpreted as genuine errors because there wasn't enough time to resolve these things.
So let's see what are some of the other concerns that Kenyans have, especially online, and bring in my colleague Joy Doreen Bira. Joy, what are guys saying online?
People are saying quite a lot, but there's one interesting tweet here from @MMJug, who is saying, I don't know, but maybe Kenya's election might be the most observed in Africa. And he shares a picture as well of John Kerry of the United States and, of course, Thabo Mbeki, the former president of South Africa, as well as John Dramani, who is the former president of Ghana. So there's quite an entourage of observers in the country. But we also have sourced for views from bloggers. And as you know, the Communications Authority has been cautioning bloggers on whether or not they are pushing propaganda and misinformation online. So here are some of the views coming through from some of the online digital experts.
This election period has been, unprecedented as far as the use of the internet is concerned. And one of the things that I've seen is that, most, if not all, politicians have been using influencers and sometimes bloggers. The thing about it is, what we need to note is that most of the people that have been that are being used are mercenaries. But that these are people who use, or rather, these are people who are being paid to spread certain messages. And while this is worrying, I don't think is an indictment of bloggers or social media users in Kenya. It just means that there are people who are first, politicians need certain messages sent out, and B, the people who who need the money, and so they're doing it purely for the money. And this is, to be honest, this is not new, but it's not an indictment of of the blogging or the influencing fraternity. This just means that these are people who are doing this, who are doing this for profit.
All right, and that's Wamadhai of Hapa Kenya online, if you're to look for him. But now there's a lot of Kenyans as well who are going out there and doing last-minute shopping. I don't want to call it last-minute shopping, but they're doing shopping just in case. And we have just a little video here that can actually just show what that kind of shopping is all about. And, you actually are seeing a number of people who are also tweeting about the fact that what we want the most now is free and credible elections. And the IEBC is tweeting as well, asking Kenyans to check their polling station by actually going to voterstatus.iebc.or.ke to find out more. And let's see here. We're having Sisa Ian, who is saying, IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba, we are watching you like a hawk. Deliver free, fair, credible, and transparent elections. There you go. And we have one, Dramani Mahama, who is saying in a chat earlier today with the chairman of the IEBC after a meeting with the commission. They're here on observatory mission. And well, that's about it, but we are keeping tabs for you on what's happening online. Make sure to stay tuned to KTN as we give you the wall-to-wall coverage on the elections 2017.
for all your election coverage.
Of course, from the county, there promises to be an interesting battle between Otoma and Ojamong.
Just like the rest of the country, wallowing in the miasma.
In Uasin Gishu, we have a total of 868 polling stations.
We are at Wanguru Girls, which is the main tallying center or the tallying center for Mwea constituency.
Nothing shorter than preparations here. The temperature seems to be quite high.
We are at the county tallying center. That is a Tom Mboya Labour College, which is a county tallying center, and preparations are underway.
But they did raise issue with the matters to do with the transmission of results.
So we are here at the police headquarters in Kakamega County.
Up to now, I'm at KIST, that is the Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology.
Remember, Elgeyo Marakwet County has 4 constituencies. That is Keio North, Keio South, Marakwet East, and Marakwet West.
And now we are in Narok East, where we have Euro Ecole Secondary School.
KTN News, your official election station.
We will